Welcome back. In this last video for the data structure in R, I will briefly cover two more R data structures, which are metrics and arrays. While you primarily use data frames for most of your work, um, understanding metrics and arrays is beneficial, especially for certain numerical and statistical operations. So this video introduces metrics and arrays, are data structures for homogeneous, that sort of single type, multi-dimensional data. So we define a matrix as a two-dimensional collection of elements of the same type, typically numeric, demonstrating its creation using the matrix function and showing how data fills either by column, which is default, or by row. We illustrate how to add meaningful row and column names and access elements using row and column indexing. We briefly touch on basic matrix operations like element-wise addition and matrix multiplication. Then we then move to arrays, which are generalization of metrics to more than two dimensions. We demonstrate creating a 3D array, um, explaining how to specify its dimensions and name them. I will show how to access elements within an array using multiple indexes. Finally, we clarify the crucial distinction. Data frames are for heterogeneous tabular data, while matrix and array are for homogeneous numerical data, especially when underlying structure is inherently multidimensional or for specific mathematical computations. Okay, so let me switch here. Okay, so the part one of this last video for the data structure. So we start with the matrix two-dimensional numeric data. Again, you see the definition here as matrix is a two-dimensional rectangular data set, and all elements in a matrix must be of the same data types, typically numeric. So here we're going to create a matrix, and to create it, use the matrix function. And in the function, these are the arguments from data, number of rows, number of columns, whether you're doing it by row, if true or not. Okay, we start with the example of example one, which is matrix of stock prices, where the rows are days and columns are stock. So here, right, you see the function, right? Function of the matrix, and you see the arguments of the function. So here we data is provided by the column, which is default. So we have our these our variable stock price metric column, and this is our matrix. So basically 3 by 3 matrix. So you have day one, day two, day three for stock one, right? So day one, day two for the three stocks. So you see the parameters we are assigning. So this is the data for the data in the argument, three for the three parameter for the n row, and then by row we're gonna do it by row. So we assign it false. So here, meaning we're gonna fill it by column first, which is stock A to C. Okay, so run this, and then we print the title for us. So that will be the title, so which is the stock price matrix by column. Then we actually print the values. So these are our stock by which we filled by column first, right? So next we add rows and column values, column names for clarity. So here we use the column function, right? Column function here to add the column names as a vector. So we add column names. Here we're gonna add the column rows, right, to the variable for the matrix. So that's the column rows, day 1 to 3. We add that, run. And then, of course, we print the title. So that's the stock price matrix. And then we print the metrics as stored in this variable, right? So here you now see it's already been assigned by day 1 to 2 to 3, and then stock A to C. So column names and row names. And you can check the class of our matrix, which is matrix and array. And then you can check the dimension of the rows and columns, which is 3 by 3. So for 2 here, for example, 2, we're gonna do matrix with data filled by row here. So, the same way, you call in your function and then you fill your data. But here, we're gonna fill by row. So we're gonna put it as true for the parameter. So which means we're gonna fill the data by row first. So I run this, run the title, and then that's your matrix filled by row first, right? Also, in a matrix, we can access elements in a matrix just similar to data frame by row index or column index. So first one here, we did access the element by day 1 for stock 1, which is $150, right? Same here, we are going to access it by day 2. So we are calling the actual rows and column names. So we access the element by day 2 and stock 2 using the names, right? So that's 200. Next one, we're gonna get all the value, access all the values for stock A. So right, remember, leave this one empty, and we're gonna access all stock A. And that's how we do that. We run that, and then we get this. And then for the next one, we're gonna access all the values by day 2, right? So if you don't call any value here, so it's gonna basically get all the values for day 2 here. So if we run this one, right? So it assesses all the value for day 2, right? All the values for day 2. Okay, so there's also the basic matrix operation. Just very simple. So matrix 1 here, we're gonna create a matrix 1 by 4 with 2 rows, right? If we run that, so matrix A and matrix B, the next one will be 5 to 8, again by 2 rows. So when we print the matrix, right? So 1 to 4 by 2 rows. Likewise, matrix B, we run the same thing, right? 5 to 8 by 2 rows. We can also do the element-wise addition. So here, again, print the title. Then here will be the element-wise addition of matrix A and B. You do that, and then you get your element-wise addition. We can also do the matrix multiplication using this operator. So run this, right? And then that is the matrix you get from matrix multiplication. Of course, you can transpose it where the rows become columns and columns become rows, right? Run this for matrix A, and this is the value we get when we transpose it. Okay, so for part 2 here, we're going to look at the arrays, which is a multi-dimensional data. So arrays can have more than 2 dimensions. So think of it as a stack of matrices, right? All elements in an array must be of the same type. So we're going to create a 3D arrays using the array function, and these are the arguments you have in your array functions. So for the first example, it's going to be stock price. for trig stocks over 5 days for 2 different years, right? So we have our dimension in the argument, where we're gonna use the rows, columns, and slices for the stock days and different years. Okay, so we're gonna assign it to this variable and then call in the array functions, and then we assign again the date, the data here, the dimension, and then the dimension names here. Okay, so run this quickly, um, print it, and then this is our arrays for splitted into year 2023 and year 2024. And also you can check the class, which in this case is array, right? We can also access the element in an array by row, columns, or slice. So again, here we're gonna access the Apple stock for day one. It's gonna give us Apple stock day one for the year 2023, right? 2023. So that's how we are gonna access the array one by one by one. And then we can also use the name. So here is Microsoft Day 3 for year 2024, right? So that's the value we have for that element, right? For these three elements. We're also gonna access all the data for year 2023, which is basically a 2D matrix, right? So blank, blank, give us all the values for the year 2023. We run this. Let's see. Hold on. Right? So that is remember, that's the second split for year 2024. So we get the elements in that array. Right. Okay, so I mean that's a very quick walkthrough on that. So I mean when you are using arrays, right? You know, when to use arrays versus data frame. So if it's heterogeneous data type, you use a data frame. Numbers, text, logical, typically for tabular data, which this is most often than not, this is what you'll be using. But in some situation, if you have to use matrix array when the data is homogeneous data type. That's all numbers, typically for mathematical operations, right? So while less common for beginners, so understanding matrix and arrays provide a deeper grasp of our capabilities, especially in statistical modeling and advanced quantitative finance. So we use a little bit of it in my book, but there was some fewer applications in it. So if you get the book, you will see some examples of it and some application of this structure. So um, yeah, so next we'll learn in the next video, we'll dive into basic data handling and functions, where we'll go through importing and exporting data, looking at essential functions of essential functions and packages, go quickly through loops in R, and then we'll be able to end it up with a video on the basic data exploration. So I'll post some more details in the description. Thanks for listening. Catch you in the next video.